The 2025 NFL Draft Class get their rookie debuts in week 1 of the preseason, and we'll tell you why Ashton Jeanty, Tyler Warren have a lot to prove.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Rookie debuts and the pressure that comes with it. Ashton Jeanty, Tyler Warren, Tyler Booker, Shemar Stewart, Dillon Gabriel, Josh Simmons. What do they all have in common? These are rookies that we're excited to see, but have some pressure on their shoulders as they enter week 1 of the NFL preseason and their NFL debuts. We're going to talk about all of that. But before that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Ashton Jeanty, Keith, you pick Ashton Jeanty for rookies that have a lot of pressure on them heading into week 1 of the preseason. I believe I can't remember who they're facing off the top of my head, but I think there was a report saying that team's not playing their first team like offense or whatever the case would be. So if I'm the Raiders, I'm like, yeah, let's go out here, have some fun, right? Try to go ahead and showcase our guys a little bit. Why is Ashton Jeanty? How much pressure is on Ashton Jeanty heading into week 1? Why was he your choice?
Yeah, so I looked at this in context of two different things, right? So it's week 1 of the preseason, but also translating to regular season, right? Like that, using kind of this momentum of week 1 to kind of build the hype for regular season too, because I think we know this, right, with all of those guys. And we seen the run from Amari and Hampton, right, where he didn't cut it inside and everybody all said, oh my God, he's going to be a bust, right? Like, so just from, one situation, everything goes left. So I look at Ashton Jeanty, and reason why is that, you went number 6 overall as a running back, right? You talk about the immense pressure that as much as, because this is what we have to remember, right? That the return of the running back is back, but also there's a lot of guys, a lot of people, period, right? A lot of draft analysts, football analysts, whatever you want to say, that are kind of sitting in the weeds waiting to be like, see, I told you so. You don't take running backs.
Don't spend a top 10 pick on a running back.
Yes. And I think if you look in the past, DP, and by all means, Ashton Jeanty, you know what? I think this is what I believe, that we look at Bijan Robinson, he went high, right? Saquon went high. Jahmyr Gibbs went kind of in the middle, right? Like he went, 14?
12.
Yeah, 12 overall. So when you're talking about putting your name in that bucket, those were guys that we knew were freaky athletes, right? I think with Ashton Jeanty, we know that he's a really good football player. And so I think that of all those guys, I think he may be the guy that had the most, how am I trying to say this? Like maybe the biggest question mark, where there wasn't a lot of questions for none of these guys, but they're all supreme football players. But he kind of had the biggest question mark because we go down to like the 40 time and things like that to be like, okay, like what caliber athlete are you also that deemed you a top 6 pick? And I hope I explained that kind of the right way that I was able to say that.
No. It makes a lot of sense though, because like you said, it's everything combined. You know what I mean? The draft capital, the buzz. I mean, there were people saying he was the best running back. He was a better running back prospect than Gibbs, then Bijan. He was the best running back prospect since Saquon. And I was like, I'm not there, guys, but he's extremely talented. Love his game. I thought Amari Hampton would have jumped him throughout for me during the draft cycle, but he stood strong and held that RB1 spot. Yeah, in this offense, like The offensive line is solid. They just paid, I think, Colton Miller. They re-upped him for a contract extension. You got a quarterback. You got a head coach that believes in balance in terms of running the football, and Pete Carroll, and throwing the football. You got explosive weapons from whether it's Jack Besh out there on the outside, whenever he's out there, Dante Thornton Jr., who the word is this guy's probably going to be one of their starters. You know what I mean? By the time we get to week 1, you got Jacoby Myers and you got Brock Bowers. So receiving wise, like once those guys really get rolling, you shouldn't see many 8 to 9 stack, 8 to 9 man fronts. So in this, to see kind of set a good, what they always say, a first impression is the best impression. You kind of want to see a good first impression from him. And Keith, so I totally understand it. For me, I go right to Indianapolis with the Colts, and it's Tyler Warren for me. He's been killing it in camp, making the contested grabs, getting open, being like him and Anthony Richardson, like we talked about last week. Like he is that security blanket for A-Rich when A-Rich is out there. You know what I mean? Like they have a really strong connection. He's able to get the ball to him, and I think this is the type of guy that quarterback's best friend. Help the young quarterback get settled in, things like that. But he's the guy that, to me, should be their top target getter in this offense. And I want to see, because I remember talking to some of my sources in Indianapolis when they drafted them, or before the draft, that he was their number 1 target at tight end. They had him over Loveland because of all the versatile things that he did at Penn State, the yards after catch, the size, and everything like that. Because they're big on the RAS score, guys weighing a certain amount at certain positions. Yep. He came in with 255. They right at that mark for them. And, I was like, well, is Shane Steichen going to use him the way, like in the way that really makes sense? He's like, that's kind of the talk from the scouts they talked to, is like, that offense that they have is willing to do different things that nobody's going to do what Penn State did for them. You're not going to be snapping the ball, running seam routes, and not gonna be running wildcat quarterback. Like we're probably not gonna. I think he can throw. I think because he was a former high school quarterback. So you might get away with a trick play here or there, but not at the when Penn State couldn't get the offense going, they would go to as a default. You're not seeing that in the NFL. It's like, man, you better get open. Like that's how you get this rock. You better get open. So that's what I'm excited to see for him. I think there's pressure because of the fact that he came in as a consensus tight end 1, that you couldn't question it for, or you were, people called you a hater if you're like, yeah, no, I got Colson Loveland the tight end 1. Oh, you just hate Tyler Warren. No, I just really like Colson Loveland. You know what I mean? Right. Like, Jesus Christ. But I think that's why I have him as the guy that has the most pressure for me that I'm going to be watching, because if he's on the field with A-Rich, how often is he targeted? And what does he do with those targets? Does that yards after catch ability, is that translating to the league against NFL linebackers and NFL safeties, those second level defenders? Can you still be nimble footed, make guys miss, or power through arm tackles and be a big physical target like we saw at Penn State and everything? So that's why I'm really keying in on this, because I think highly of him, and I think he should be their number 1 option over Josh Downs, over MPJ, over those receivers. He should be the guy that if you get Tyler Warren going and create that gravitational pull with the tight end, now they try to double him with a safety because the linebackers can't cover him. Now that gives your receivers one-on-ones. That creates more opportunities for other guys rather than, well, let's try and force it to MPJ because we paid him. Like, I don't think that's helping anybody.
Yeah, no, I'm interested to see what Tyler Warren does too, and because I'm interested from and it's what you started with, the usage, right? And it's almost like dual threat quarterbacks, right? Where, and I think Tyler Warren, he doesn't fall in the dual threat quarterback category. But what I'm saying is that if you want similar production, then are you going to call similar plays and similar situations? Are you going to manufacture some of the production, right? Like, do you need to be thinking more Taysom Hill with Tyler Warren, right? And trying to get him the wildcat quarterback stuff, because being a traditional tight end DP was not when we seen Tyler Warren's best year, right? It was when he did everything, and the ball in a weird way. It's like if you're talking about a basketball team, he almost played point forward, right? Like the ball kind of flowed through him and he had to distribute and make plays. So I'm interested to see what Tyler Warren does, because if you're gonna run wildcat, I would run wildcat with Anthony Richardson and not Tyler Warren, right? Just because of them being better. Like Anthony Richards is the better athlete, right? So,
Right.
you're talking about putting yourself in the best situation, but overall, we both know that Tyler Warren is talented. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they use him because, like we always say, your production from college doesn't translate necessarily to the NFL, right? You can't take the numbers with you, but you have to kind of put those players in position to be productive based off of what they did in college. So, DP, let's do this, man. That was round one. Round two, we're talking Dallas Cowboys, Tyler Booker, and then we're talking Cincinnati Bengals. They finally got him signed, right? Two teams that kind of don't like signing players. We're going to talk about Tyler Booker and Shemar Stewart coming up next.
This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. This year, me and the Locked On NFL Draft podcast are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's only one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play head-to-head in private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. Tyler Booker, guys, again, round two of these rookies.
I said it. They don't like signing players. They rather
don't.
the headline.
They don't. Jerry Jones. I was on the iHeartRadio show after the news broke about Micah asking for a trade. And I said, Jerry Jones is the only person I know that will tie his own shoes together and they get mad that he tripped. Because it's like, brother, like, how did, like, you knew this was coming and you can't get out your own way. So and I think with Tyler Booker, they took him, what was it? What pick did they have? 12?
13.
Somewhere. Top 15 pick for them. And it was a pick that was discussed. Some people felt like it was a reach. It was too high for Tyler Booker. And, the Cowboys have always had, I know you were one of them. The Cowboys have always had this they've always prioritized the trenches in a sense, going way back to when they got drafted. Like they went like multiple years going early first and second round, making sure they had the right offensive linemen to really like set themselves up for success. And it did work. But Keith, you look at Tyler Booker heading into his first preseason game, he's going to be without Tyler Guyton as the left tackle. Tyler Guyton will not be there because he got hurt. I forget what injury it is. He's supposed to be back. It's like a 6-week injury. I think it's like a foot or something like that. But yeah, he's out for a couple weeks. He's out for probably about a month.
Yeah, I think they said probably out until week 1, I believe.
Yeah,
like he
week 1 or maybe 2, depending on how he recovers. But yeah, you go up against the Rams, and we'll see the Rams come out with their starting defense. So you're talking about potentially seeing Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk for Tyler Booker, Keith. So that's in the passing game. That's going to be run game. I'm going to give the edge to Booker because that's where he excels. In the passing game, you got two very quick, athletic, and good hand usage type of interior defensive linemen that could give you some problems.
Yeah, no, and that's why I picked Tyler Booker, one, because of the matchup, and then 2, just looking at the overall situation for Tyler Booker, right? No Tyler Guyton to kind of help him out right there, even though Tyler Guyton in his own rights is young himself, right? He's still young, yeah. But also, I mean, it's Dallas, right? People they're either for you or they totally against you. It's one of the two, right? So some people are waiting to call you a bust, right? And be like, what happened? And you mentioned it at the top of the show. Did I believe that he was a guy that they reached for? Yeah, I did, right? Don't mean that I don't think he can be a productive NFL player. I just don't know if I'd have took him top 15. But the road that he should serve is that the Cowboys are trying to run the football. They're trying to get back to the basics. They're trying to keep Dak Prescott healthy, right? Like all of those things combined, you playing in Dallas, like that's a lot of pressure. And then also DP, this is the position where the Cowboys have hit, right? Like you talking about the Zach Martins, the Travis Fredericks, the La'el Collins, bringing him in. I think they just bought him back again.
They just brought him back,
yeah, all of these draft prospects, like the one thing that they are is that they kind of put you in position to where if the Dallas Cowboys take you at the offensive line, then that means that you should be a good player. So if you don't become a good player, it's not on the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be placed on you, right? Because they've kind of, if there's one position they've proven, and it's probably the only position they've proven that they can draft is the offensive line. So if you don't show up and show out, then I think that, it's going to be some concerns. And I know he had a quote that it was like, playing offensive line in the NFL is like doing algebra while running or doing algebra while doing it was some physical activity, I believe, right? But I mean, I don't necessarily want to hear that, right? Like, because I don't know if you're good at algebra or you're bad at algebra, right? Like, we need to figure that out. So, overall, DP, I think that's why I chose Tyler Booker.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a fair situation, right? Like, this is the team that is Dallas. Like, you always gonna have eyes on you. You always gonna have fans believing it's their year, or detractors saying, like, you're not good, you know what I mean? So it's always going to be something with Dallas, and like you said, Dak Prescott coming back healthy, and everything. Like, that's a big thing. Like, you want to keep him, good in the pocket. Like, you want to make sure he's comfortable, especially the fact that he now has George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb to throw to. Yeah, give him some time, let him cook back there, because he has the now you have two receivers. They just re-signed Jake Ferguson. So when they paid Jake Ferguson. So now your top three pass catchers are essentially fine. But where I think also the pressure's on for Tyler Booker is the fact that we don't know what their run game is going to look like this year. Right? Like, there is no just star running back there. Right? Like, it's Javonte Williams, Deuce Vaughn, Jaden Blue, Miles Sanders, and then they drafted our guy Phil Maffa. Yeah, so I'm like, if personally, I would love for Phil Maffa to take that top role, because I think he could be that bell cow for him, especially on early downs and stuff like that. And Jaden Blue becoming the pass catcher out of the two. But nonetheless, Keith, when I look at it's definitely pressure on Tyler Booker, because for one, you're not gonna have your left tackle running mate, to where you guys may have like started to already develop chemistry in terms of communication and passing off routes. I mean, passing off twists and stunts and things like that. And if he doesn't start the season, they open the season up, I think, with Philly. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like you kind of want Tyler Booker to hit the ground running in preseason to get ready for that defensive line, because we got your boy from Texas over there. I've seen reports for Philly balling out Ojomo.
Morrow, and I like Morrow too. Yeah,
like they said, he's been very difficult to block in training camp for Philly. But we all know the man that's over there, Jalen Carter.
They said Jordan Davis in the best shape that he's ever looked.
Yeah, he's dropped weight, so it's like you that week one game. Oh no, that's not a we get right game. That's a welcome to the NFL game. You know what I mean? You're going up against the defending Super Bowl champion. So big time opportunity for him. Keith, I'm going right to Cincinnati to Shemar Stewart. And it's just exactly what you said. They finally got him signed. This man, like this young man, and I heard that his agent was the biggest problem, because supposedly the thing that they were holding out for, they didn't even get. Like, the offset link was removed. They didn't get it removed. He just got extra, like almost like $500,000 more or something like that, $500,000 added to his get like bonus or whatever the case may be, upfront money and things like that. You miss Ricky minicamp, basically OTAs.
Yep.
And I think you missed like the first. Didn't he miss like the first week? Yeah, first couple of days.
Yeah. There's definitely some days into training camp.
So I look at Shemar Stewart, a guy that we both kind of called, Keith, as being raw. Raw. Yeah, I didn't want to call him a project, but raw. Like, it was very much, hey, we have to make sure, like, we get you the reps. that you get the coaching, you get everything you need to take those steps forward and to develop, right? And because we're sitting here and you went through that entire process, and I'm not, and at the end of the day, he's a young player that trusted his agent. So, you know what I mean? Some people want to blame the young man. I'm not going to do that, Keith. I blame if the agent didn't do his job, that's on the agent. You know what I mean? And hopefully, like, either that's your one-off and you don't get another mulligan after that, or yeah, we get rid of you. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, look, if he plays and he gets on the field, what type of shape are you in, right? Like, what type of shape are you going to be in as a defensive end? And then can you make the impact plays for the time that you're out there? Are you going to be able to play the run well? Are you going to be assignment sound? Like, do you know the defense well enough? Like, if there's a check and an audible, different. Do you know these things because you weren't physically taking part in practice? Yeah, I think he was there to take mental notes and stuff and everything, but for the most part, I think he did end up leaving at one point when they couldn't come to an agreement during like maybe OTAs. But yeah, I think with that holdout and everything, it brings more pressure because you were already a pick that while a lot of people love the upside, what was the floor? You know what I mean? So it's like, what was the floor? Like, how long is it going to take us to get you to being 8 to 9 sack guy consistently when you, I think, couldn't crack 5 to 6 sacks consistently in college, right? So it's a lot of pressure on him. You know what I mean? To come out there and now if he comes out there like game busters and walks out his first preseason game with 2 sacks, it's like, well, you know, maybe I could have had 4 in this game if y'all had signed me earlier. Like, you know, he can kind of flex his, you know, pump his chest out a little bit and feel really good, but it's a lot of pressure whenever you hold out and you miss so much time as a rookie, as a raw rookie, because you wouldn't imagine a raw quarterback doing this.
Yeah, no, and because you you know that, I mean, just like we talked about with Tyler Booker, there are people waiting to say, see, he missed this assignment because he wasn't at practice, he wasn't at OTAs, he wasn't at mini camp, right? So there's gonna be a lot of pressure on him, and I think you directed it right? That it's the Shemar Stewart is a grown man, but I say blame the adults in this situation, meaning the Cincinnati Bengals front office and the agents, right? Whatever they couldn't agree on, like y'all wind up compromising or potentially putting Shemar Stewart in a situation that's actually not fair, which is unfortunate to the young man. But DP, I like what you did, man. We've been going first rounders. You threw in a third rounder, Mr. Dillon Gabriel. I like it. We're going to talk about why Dillon Gabriel is going to have a lot of pressure on him come week 1 of the preseason. We'll talk about that coming up next.
Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the bright lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. Plus, you're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling and worth your while? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Let them handle the suntan lotion. Let's go make some money, guys. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5. Just $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Again, if you're new to FanDuel, let me help you. New customers can bet just $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So how do you get in on this action? It's simple. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. I think when you look at rookies heading into their first preseason action that has a lot of pressure on them, Keith, it's got to be Dillon Gabriel for me. And I think, you know, because they play, I believe is it Sunday? No, they don't play Sunday. They play Friday night. They play the Panthers. They go up against a revamped Panthers defense with rookie edges that's trying to really get going, and a defense that was one of the worst in the league last year, trying to, you know, wipe that off their record and head into 2025 on the good foot. And for him, when you have, it's one thing to have like Joe Flacco in front of you. It's like, okay, he's projected to be the starter because he's a veteran, and we went through their schedule. God bless, Joe. You know what I mean? God bless. Because that schedule is disgusting. to start the season for the Cleveland Browns. I wouldn't want to start a rookie either. You know what I mean? So let Joe Flacco take those bumps and bruises at 39 years old. I don't know how he might pull a, he might retire in the midst of this. Like, I don't have time for this. You know what I mean? I'm too old for this. And he might just walk out. But you let him start. So it's one thing that you expect. But when you have Shedeur Sanders behind you, breathing down your neck as the 5th round pick, and you're the 3rd round pick, the natural expectation is, Dillon, go prove us right. You know what I mean? Go prove the people who believed you were the better pick, who believe you should have been taken before Shedeur, your own teammate. You got to go out there and prove that, right? Like, Shedeur, to me, is playing with house money. Like, everybody didn't like me during the draft cycle. Everybody had nothing but negative things to say about me the whole time. And the only thing I've come to Cleveland and do, for the most part, outside of the 2 traffic situations, is just come out here and ball and play well, right? Like, we talked about last week, had the stats. Like, he hasn't thrown interceptions. Shedeur's been accurate, money. He's been doing all the things we know him to be. Dillon Gabriel's got to go out there and perform to keep that where it is, and that's behind him. Because if we get to that point in the season where Joe Flacco is no longer the starter, and Kevin Stefanski, similar to Brian Daboll we talked about, Kevin Stefanski's probably in the hot seat too. So you head into that week where you're like, hey, we're making a change at quarterback. Now you got to really evaluate, well, who are we putting in? Because at the end of the day, like, whoever goes in first, I'd rather be the second guy anyway. Because whoever goes in first is probably going to have a short leash. So I'd rather be the second guy. I'd rather be the last one. So I think Dillon Gabriel has a lot of pressure. You can't go in this first preseason game against the Panthers and play poorly. You have to be at least just average. Just be solid. Not saying you got to go ahead and light it up. Just be solid. Be steady throughout your time out there. But if you go out there and have stinkers and like bad throws and you have issues, the fan base is already on Shedeur's side. Mm-hmm. You can't give them more reason to start chanting Shedeur Sanders during a preseason game. That's what you don't need.
Yeah, no, I mean, and this is the thing that as unfairly we may have felt that Shedeur Sanders was treated, right, through the draft process, post-draft, Dillon Gabriel is kind of the one in the most difficult situation because he's the ticker at the bottom of the screen, right? Like if you watch any of these shows, Get Up, First Take, whatever, right? There's not a segment on Dillon Gabriel, right? He's just mentioned when you're making an argument for Shedeur Sanders or Joe Flacco, right? He's not actually talked about. So you can imagine how quickly he can become glossed over when you start to factor in things like, what do the fans want to see? What's going to drive ticket sales? What's the attention grabber? How do we get more primetime games? All of these things that owners and front offices think about, right? When it comes to making decisions, as much as people don't want to hear it, those things are considered, right? Especially for the quarterback position. We're talking about being the face of the franchise. So, I'm right there with you, DP, on Dillon Gabriel. Like he has Shedeur's in a place where I almost feel like he has nothing to lose. I think Dillon almost has the least amount of wiggle room, right? Like in he has the least amount of wiggle room of the quarterbacks with Cleveland. DP, my guy I picked, and I think it's fairly simple. I went Kansas City Chiefs rookie offensive tackle. They took him with the 32nd pick, which we talked about that was probably going to happen. And then people are going to say that he's one of the best offensive tackles. But Josh Simmons out of Ohio State, for everybody to know, he had a bad knee injury, right? I think it was ACL and a couple other ligaments against Oregon when they played Oregon the first time in October. And so that kind of affected his pre-draft process. He fell in the draft all the way to pick 32. If he was healthy, some people believe he could have been offensive tackle 1. So they got good value with him there. But this is why I picked him. Is that showing up and playing well, DP, will be paramount, because I go back to a few years later when the Kansas City Chiefs, they got their butt whipped against the Tampa Bay Bucks, right? And then what did they do? They revamped the offensive line and made another run at a Super Bowl, right? So that's going to be the mindset, is that, okay, we drafted you, we put you here, you're better than what we had last year, we should be able to go win a Super Bowl with you, right? Like that's the standard. is going to be in it. And not it's for the preseason, but it also has to turn over into the regular season. And then this, DP, that you're playing in the postseason, right? You're playing for the Chiefs. You should be there in the postseason. All eyes are going to be on you. But I think it's going to start here, because if he doesn't, let's say if he doesn't play well in the preseason, the alarms are going to go up, right? Oh, man, we got to find us another offensive tackle, because we're not going to win a Super Bowl, because we just seen how this played out, against the Eagles this past year's Super Bowl. So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Josh Simmons to play well early, and that's starting week 1 of the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, especially because and some of the reps I saw from him in camp, he looks the same way we thought he would look. Good. You know what I mean? I think it was Ashton Jeanty from Louisville. I think he snatch trapped him and threw him to the ground and just buried him. I was like, doesn't look like a guy's coming off a knee injury to me.
No.
But we called this early in the process once he declared, listen, and everything went the way it did for the Chiefs. And it was like he's gonna fall right into their hands. And then we're gonna be people are like, how did we let this happen? We gotta stop asking that question when we visibly sit here and watch the draft unfold. Stop asking how did we let the Chiefs get Jalen Royals? Y'all the one who overthought it. Now you're mad that they got Jalen Royals, Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, Josh Simmons at left tackle, and for the fact of that is a position they needed to fix, because now I think it's Jalen Moore, who they signed from San Fran. He is in competition to be, I think, right tackle. Mm-hmm. So it's all right. So now if Josh Simmons goes out here and handles business, and now you get Jalen Moore playing right tackle, whatever guard, whatever he's going to play, because I think he gives you both guard and tackle versatility. You get the best 5 on the field. They got Trey Smith, or either they paid them or they need to figure out the whole contract situation. Nonetheless, if they figure out the best 5 to protect Mahomes, it's okay, that's now we're back in trouble territory again, because he's comfortable. They can run the ball. They got plenty of young wide receivers. Their defense is legit. And it's how do we combat that, right? So yeah, a lot of pressure, regardless on him, because main thing is going to be now you're in real live reps with a guy who's not going to stop. You know what I mean? Until the whistle is blown. So it's your teammate's going to pull up in those run game situations and everything, because you're their teammate. That defender who's trying to make that roster is not pulling up. He's giving you everything he got plus more, an extra 10%. You know what I mean? So Josh Simmons definitely has a lot to prove and to show. And for one, the main thing he's got to prove to me, just show me that you trust your knee. Show me that you trust your leg, man, that you can be able to set and anchor and change directions and do everything that made you such a tantalizing prospect when we watched you last summer coming into the season. It's this is probably this dude could be OT1, right? Give us that. And if he's trusting that leg, Keith, this situation could be very scary for the opposing teams in the AFC, because if that's the blindside protector and he's good to protect Mahomes, you don't want to blitz. That's the last thing you want to do. So you got to figure it out.
Yep, got to figure it out. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. Every listener is greatly appreciated here over at Locked On NFL Draft. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us, because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to the podcast, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.